Welcome back. Today, I want to talk about something that touches all of us at some point, our deepest need for a sense of belonging, not the kind that only welcomes the version of us that is put together or the kind that only exists when everything is going well, but rather the version that answers the questions: do I matter when I'm tired? Do I still belong when I'm hurting? Do I still have a place when life has stripped something away from me? Because that is the heart of what the story of Ruth brings up. When most people talk about Ruth, they talk about her loyalty. And yes, she is loyal, deeply so. But if we stop there, we miss the beauty of her story. Ruth is not just a woman making a noble choice. She's a woman trying to survive in a world that keeps giving her labels instead of refuge. She's a widow, a foreigner, a poor woman gathering scraps in a field. And maybe that's why her story feels so close to home, because so many of us know what it feels like to be reduced to what we've lost, or what we've survived, or what we can still produce. There are seasons when life starts to feel very small. You're doing your best, but everything feels fragile. You're carrying grief privately. You're trying to keep showing up. You're wondering if anyone really sees you. And that's where Ruth speaks so powerfully. She doesn't enter the story with power, she enters it with loss. She keeps moving with grief. She keeps showing up while life is still unresolved. I believe we can all benefit from this reminder because sometimes we fall into the trap of thinking we have to wait until everything is completely healed, resolved, or clear before we are allowed to belong again. But Ruth shows us a different way. True belonging is not a reward you finally earn once you've got it all together. It's a safe space that holds us gently while we're still becoming. That matters. One of the most moving things about Ruth's story is that she stays. She stays with Naomi when life is bitter. She stays when the road is uncertain. She stays when there is not a clear resolution or a guaranteed path forward. And if I had to be completely honest, that kind of staying is hard. It's hard to stay present when things are uncomfortable. It's hard to remain connected when grief is loud. It's hard to keep trusting that love still has room for you when your story feels messy. But Ruth reminds us that real love doesn't disappear at the first sign of hardship. So, if you're in a season where you feel like giving up, pulling back, or making yourself smaller just to get through, I want to say this gently. You do not have to disappear to be worthy of care. You do not have to have everything figured out to be held. Ruth goes out into the field and does the humble, ordinary, exhausting work of gathering what she can. And I think that part speaks to many of us. Sometimes the field is where you keep showing up even though you're tired. Sometimes the field is where you keep doing the next right thing without applause, without certainty, without a guarantee. And if that's where you are right now, I want you to know God is not absent there. And right when Ruth needs it most, Boab steps into the story. And I love this part because he does so much more than just be kind to her. He makes room for Ruth and creates space for her to stay safe at the most vulnerable time of her life. He doesn't just notice her pain, he responds to it with protection. And that's what belonging can look like at its best: not being tolerated, not being managed, not being overlooked, being made room for, being able to breathe without shrinking, being able to exist without always bracing for harm. And I just want to say this to everyone listening. If you've spent a long time feeling like you have to stay small to stay safe, God's heart toward you is not to keep you hidden, it's to hold you. So if you take nothing else away today, here is what I want you to hold on to. You are not disqualified by your hardest season. You are not too much because you have needs. You are never invisible simply because life has thrown a few unexpected detours your way. You are not forgotten just because your story is still unfolding. Ruth reminds us that God's belonging is not fragile. It doesn't fall apart when life gets hard. It doesn't disappear when you're in the middle of the mess. It stays. And maybe that's the reminder we need today. God stays, kindness stays, love stays, belonging stays, even in the field, especially in the field. So if you're in a season where you feel tired, exposed, or unsure of where you fit, I want you to hear this clearly. You are still invited. You are still held. You are still seen. The beauty of belonging is not that life becomes easy. The beauty is that you do not have to make yourself disappear to be loved. You can be in the process and still be welcomed. You can carry grief and still be held. You can feel like an outsider and still have a place. And that's the kind of good news Ruth gives us. We'll leave it there for today. Remember, you are deeply valued, and just like Ruth, every step of faith quietly builds a foundation for what comes next. See you next time.